the Stitch Sisters here. Nikki is here too. She's
I'm
currently filming. But I don't know if we've mentioned it about 100 times. But I recently had some building work done, and that meant I had 6 months of not being able to sew, which was very hard for me indeed. I could sew, but I had to go over to Nikki's house to do it, and I couldn't be there every day sewing, could I?
No.
The positive thing that came out of that was that it gave me a chance to redecorate my sewing room. So my sewing room has been in use for classes for several years now, but it had kind of been a sort of makeshift combination of other bits and pieces of furniture that I already owned, that I'd moved in from other parts of the house, and none of them were really fit for purpose. So this was a chance for me to start from scratch and to think about the floor plan a little bit and how it would work for me and how it would work well for classes, and to visit my good Swedish friend IKEA, where all of my furniture has now come from pretty much. So hopefully you'll enjoy having a little look around and maybe using some of the little bits and bobs that I purchased from IKEA, because some of them are really great for a sewing room. So should we start with the wall behind me?
Yes.
It's just a random collection of things, things that I have had in my on the wall in various different places. I just decided to move them all together.
Little wall of inspiration.
Yes, exactly. So some of them are handmade, like this one here. This was a little bit when I first started hand embroidery. I'd seen that quote somewhere and thought that would be a cool thing to do.
Just coming in for a little close up.
Yes. Don't look too closely because, like I said, I had just started hand embroidery.
And what's this one here?
That was a class that we ran.
It was.
We ran a class on, we just wanted to do different types of embroidery. So this was a scrappy one where you just sew you cut tiny little leaves out of random bits of fabric, and then you just sew embroidery stitches on top of them. It makes a really cool design.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
And then some inspirational quotes on the wall as well.
Yes. This one I particularly like. This was it has got special meaning for us because I know it's a common poster and you see it everywhere. But when we first started Sodbury Sewing School, or Sodbury Sewing Circle as it started out, we used that as our motto, didn't we?
We
so
did,
that was
yes.
kind of our logo, trying to convince lots of people in the same situation as us that housework could wait and sewing was much more important.
Absolutely.
So moving around the room then, over here.
I'm going over here first.
It's my mannequin. This is actually a mannequin that I've stolen from Nikki.
Yes, I was thinking that is not your mannequin.
Well,
it's my mannequin.
It is my mannequin now. So I did have a lovely 60s singer mannequin, which I do love. She was called Gertie. Unfortunately, Gertie's proportions and my proportions are very different, and I spent a long time trying to make her work for me, and she really didn't. So Nikki had this one in her basement and wasn't using it, so I've stolen it off her. And the reason I've stolen it off her is that we've recently made moulages, and my moulage fits quite snugly over that one. All I need to do is pad out the hip and tummy area a little bit, and it will be mini me, so I'll be able to use it as an actual mannequin that is a replica of me. So I'm looking forward to that. I also have my little pincushion stuck in the top because this is polystyrene under here, but it just means that if I'm draping or pinning on the mannequin, then I've got my pins very handy.
Very good.
On here currently is the Morris blazer that I made during the snow day recently. That is all ready to go, except that I haven't sewn the shoulder pads in yet, so that's why it's still on there. And these lovely culottes, which I cannot wait to wear, which I'm totally in love with. We just haven't had the weather for them yet, so I'm not getting bare ankles out yet, so I'm not ready for that. No. So moving up here, this is all my little jars of things.
It's got them all labelled. Look, bobbins, binding clips, magic. What is that?
Magnetic
clasps.
Not magic clasps.
Magic clasps.
I wish they were magic clasps.
Where you've been hiding the magic clasps from me.
And then stationery's on the top shelf.
Fabulous.
So sellotape and staplers.
Essentials
and
for the sewing room.
Yes. And then this here is one of the things I'm most happy with, because this was an IKEA hack. So the rack, I think, is called Mulig, and it's £5. And then these are curtain rings, and they come with these very handy little clips. So what I love about them is that they lift off, so I can just lift them off, use my pattern, and then when I'm finished I can clip it back up
Back
and then
Genius.
pop it back on the hook.
Is that like a wardrobe rail or something?
Yeah,
like that?
it's for when you don't have a wardrobe and you just want to put a rail on the wall. So the rail was £5, and then I think I bought 2 packs of curtain rings, which are £2 each. So the whole thing was under a tenner, and I cannot tell you how happy that makes me. It's such a little thing. Down there in my little bucket is where I keep my rolled patterns.
Yes.
So I found that bucket in a charity shop years ago, and I love it because it's got some very glamorous ladies on it. So that's where I keep my rolled patterns.
Fabulous.
And then on the shelf up there are lots of jars of other things. So you
She
might
likes
notice
a jar.
I never throw away a jar.
No.
Ever. So literally everything that we eat, if it's in a jar, it gets put in the dishwasher and I have a collection, and then when I need a jar, it's very easy to find one. They're not all labelled because it's kind of obvious what some of the things are. So
and some fabrics.
that's all my fat quarters in there. So just little bits.
In my old CD rack.
In your old CD rack. Yes, nothing gets thrown away.
No, it's all upcycled and recycled. We'll just go right the way along the top of the shelf, then we'll come back down.
Yes. The main reason that shelf has got so much stuff in it is to hide the very big gas pipes running around the back. We have a very old cottage, and it's quite rustic in lots of ways, and I don't really feel the need to box in all the pipes and that sort of thing. I'm quite happy to leave them. So this here is my pegboard. So I have joined the Pegboard brigade.
Revolution.
I think the people that are making these enamel pins, like the one Nikki's wearing today, which says it has pockets,
Yes.
and I've got one that she bought me that says seamstress.
Both from the Pink Coat Club.
Yes, Pink Coat Club. I think they need to make one that says Pegboard Brigade, because
Get on
most
a join.
sewers are joining the Pegboard Brigade, and I've always wanted one, but I just thought they were too expensive. But the ones IKEA do now are so reasonable.
Yeah.
So this whole collection here, which includes the rolls, so the ribbon and the shelves and all the hooks on there, was a total of £26, I think. So it's a really
essential
really good
pug stationer.
tape
pencil
measure.
sharpener.
That's
Oh,
tape
it's a
measure.
tape measure. I thought it was
Pug
a pencil
tape
sharpener.
measure, and then you have to just press his tummy for his tongue to go back in.
And the
Panda sharpener.
Panda sharpener, of course.
So what I've got here
Pattern
is
weights.
my pattern paper. So there's a roll of paper there for all my patterns. And then I have my pattern making tools here as well, my awl and my tracing wheels, and my pencils behind there, carbon papers. And then here I've got pattern weights, pencils and pens.
Show us your pattern weights.
Pattern weights, because you made them.
Because I made them. Show us your lovely pattern weights.
These have been with me a very long time. Nikki made them for me.
Look at the little
they're
patchwork
tiny,
weights.
tiny little patchwork pattern weights that I filled with pennies.
And with pennies, so your daughter thinks it's like a secret bank.
Yes. And told her each one had 40 pence in it, or 50 pence, I think, and there are 8 of them. She went to me, but that's £4. And then I've got my scissors. These are mainly scissors that are used for class, but I use them as well when I'm cutting on the cutting table. And I've got my pattern notcher and my French curves. Let me just show you this. I'm very proud of my little invention. So this is you can buy them, and it's a curve measurer, but I didn't want to pay the £25-30 that it cost to buy one, so I took the blade off of a rotary cutter, and I had to spend ages with the maths trying to work out what circumference would fit into the size of a diameter that I could cut, basically, that would be an exact number of inches. So this is 11 inches. And then I drew the one with a Sharpie. So it's not going to be millimetre precise, but it certainly does the job. And so what it means is that when I want to use a different sleeve to a sleeve from one pattern for a bodice of another, or if I need to work out how long my bands need to be for jersey tops and that sort of thing, I can very easily measure the curves.
Excellent.
I love that one.
Rotary cutter hack.
Yes, this here is my mum's, and she now lives in Australia, so I keep it there. She wasn't really into dressmaking. She was when we were young, but I think she just used to hang her jewellery on it and stuff. But
Very
I just
nice.
keep it in here. And then over here is my latest sewing room snack. So
sewing books.
we have a garage directly opposite my house, and they sell American snacks. And I used to have red vines when I was a kid. I had an American friend who gave me red vines, and I loved them. And so when I went in there the other week and they had red vines in there, I got very excited. And
so she's now got a stash.
Gorging on them ever since. But they are the perfect sewing room snack.
Yes.
You just grab one and leave it hanging out your mouth and have your hands free.
And then this is a cutting table, isn't it?
This is a cutting table that I designed. It wasn't meant to look like this. So my plan had been to have, I've seen it a few times before online, where you have, these are the 4x4 IKEA cubes, the Kallax units.
Yes.
And I had planned to put 2 of them back to back and then have another one on the end.
Yeah.
Put the whole thing on casters and let it roll around. Once I'd built the rest of the room, I could tell that there was not going to be enough floor space in between to do that. So instead, I decided to put them back against the wall, so they're just side by side. They've been bracketed to the wall, and then I had an MDF top cut to size and had the edge beveled so it wasn't sharp, and the top's been bracketed to that. And then just underneath here, I've got shelf brackets. They are supporting the tabletop. So what it means is it's a great cutting board, but when I need to have a couple of extra people sewing for class, then we just put a couple of extra chairs up here, and they can sit and sew.
It's slightly higher than the table as well, so it's
love
quite nice.
the height of it. I wish I could, well, I can sew it in.
You can sit there anytime you like.
It's my sewing room. But it's lovely because you don't have to hunch over at all. You're sat quite upright when you're sewing.
Yeah.
So in the cupboards under there, I keep my overlock of threads and I keep my machines. So there are some spare class machines there because we have a few extras. There's also a number of work in progress things under there. So things that have been cut either for class or for personal sewing that haven't yet been sewn up. So there's the remnants of the suede bag that we taught the other day. And up there are some hoodies ready to be sewn up for the kids.
Yes. And that was bunting and
cushion yesterday. Yes. So moving over to this side.
Okay. Should we go to the back wall now?
So here I have my little ironing board. So it's just a tabletop ironing board. I do put up a full-size one just at the end of the table when I need a little bit more room, because this is great for pressing little things, but it doesn't give you a lot of arm room. But it's very handy and makes good use of the space, because this would be dead space otherwise. Yeah. And then underneath there I have my pressing equipment. So I've got my ham and my sleeve roll, and I've got a couple of other irons in there, an old-fashioned steamless iron, and then I have a steamer. In here is just scraps from recent projects, so I always like to keep them handy for a short time in case I need to replace something or quickly add something. So that's scraps from recent projects. In there is all interfacings and freeze paper, and this is all admin stuff for the business. So where I keep the receipts and business cards and the PayPal machine and all that sort of thing. And then...
And your lovely thread
rack, yes.
Thread rack.
So I bought Nikki one of these for her birthday last year and loved it. And then I realised that Amazon do them even cheaper, so I decided to treat myself.
And you've mounted yours as well. Mine is just on a little cabinet, but you mounted yours.
I knew that I was going to be restricted for tabletop space, so I wanted as much on the wall as I could. So that's up there, and this little sign that I've had for ages underneath.
And your little feathers that I made.
Yes, you did. So that was a class, I don't know when that was, a good long while ago.
6 months ago?
Yeah, it was longer than that, I think. It's paper pieced quilt design for some feathers, and then Nikki decided to put it into a little hanging for me, and it just sits perfectly on the hooks.
I planned it to sit there.
On the bottom of Carson. This up here, this is Carson. I named him Carson because I was obsessed with Downton Abbey at the time, and because he's black and Carson wears all black.
Yes, it's very shiny.
And he definitely looks very masculine to me. So this is Carson. And I don't use him very often, but he looks very pretty.
He does look very pretty.
Yes, he's just overlooking things in here.
And lots of quilting rulers there.
Yes, all my quilting rulers behind. I don't use them that much for quilting, but I use them a lot for cutting materials for class. But also I use them a lot for pattern drafting and dressmaking as well.
Yeah.
So even if you are not a quilter, having a nice big gridded ruler is definitely a handy thing to have.
You were using one of them today to even up a lady's skirt.
Yes, to hem it. That's right.
So from the bottom of the floor to the skirt.
I had a ruler that I had on the floor, and I was making my way around her and just sort of marking the same spot all the way around.
They're ever so useful.
Yes, exactly. I do also have a skirt marker that is
Yes,
exactly for that purpose, but it is
Yes.
an old one and I haven't replaced the chalk in it yet, which is why it's just sitting up there at the moment and not actually being used.
So what's in the cubby holes?
So in the cubbies here, I have lots of pins. There's loads of different pin cushions there because they're the ones that I use, but also the ones I use for class.
Yeah.
These are my favourite ones at the moment, which you probably can't even see on camera. But these are the Merchant and Mills etymology pins, and I just love them. They're just so thin and so bendy that they just are brilliant for fine fabrics.
Yeah.
I think they work great for jerseys as well. So
Excellent.
I love them for that. And then in here is where I keep my bobbins and my machine parts, and these little drawers have all my little sewing machine feet in. And then we're on to fabric.
We're on to stash.
So this is, believe it or not, with the exception of a few bits and bobs, this is the entirety of my fabric stash. And I know it doesn't look like a lot, but the way that it's been folded, I used a card template to make sure all the pieces fit snugly in the cubby. So most of these pieces in here are 2 meters or larger. And so, you know, there is a fair amount of fabric in there.
Yeah.
So this is all of my cotton fabric in there.
I'm just coming in for a close-up. Okay. Cottons.
And then that is jerseys.
Lovely. Some lovely ones you got from Fabrics recently.
Yes, that's right.
And then up here.
And then up here, so the top half is kind of heavier weight cottons, kind of upholstery weight cottons. And then from there down is kind of trouser weight fabrics. So things that I would probably put on the bottom half. And then this is more jerseys, but lots of sweater knits in there and ribbing as well. Mm-hmm. And then that final one there is all synthetics. So, in fact, no, it's not. Half of it's synthetics. So let me come around and show you. So from here up is synthetics. So there's lots of rayons in there. But then from there down are vintage cottons.
Lovely.
So I had organised them into more cubbies and then realised that I couldn't afford to give up that many to fabrics, so I had to have a little rethink.
Yeah.
And then up here, this is Gloria. If you saw my last sewing room tour video, you'll know that Nikki bought her for me. Picked her up for a bargain price of 99p.
99p.
Drove into the wilderness to get her for me.
Yes, took my life in my hands, I did.
And she is beautiful, so she gets pride of place up there.
She's
and
a
then
colour.
over here I've got my patterns. So I've started organising them recently. And I've got these cute little labels for them now. So these are all accessories and kids and men's patterns. And then in here we've got coats and jackets, swimwear and pyjamas and underwear. This is all separates. So patterns that come with multiple pieces, you know, tops and trousers or jackets and trousers and that sort of thing. And then I seem to have an abundance of dresses, more dresses than anything else. So this one is all true vintage patterns, so they're all originals. This one here is all reproduction vintage patterns, so there are a lot of patterns that have been reproduced by Butterick and Simplicity, so it's those ones of Vintage Vogue. And then down there, I might swap so you can get in a little bit closer. So then there is modern dresses, and finally at the bottom there are trousers, skirts and tops, so they're separate patterns there.
What else is down here while I'm here?
There's a huge collection of sewing magazines. I'm not very good at throwing anything away, so I've kept them. Sooner or later I'll have to. And then there's my sewing book collection.
Yes.
So there's a huge amount of books in there.
Yes.
My favourite is probably, I've got too many favourites actually. I don't think I'll go into
You've got
detail.
some nice old ones as well, haven't you?
Yes, so I like sewing books, but I also love fashion books. So I love any fashion books that are from more than sort of 30 years ago. I just find them absolutely fascinating to flick through and to get inspiration. So if ever I see a fashion book or a pattern book in the shops, in the charity shops, I will always snatch it up.
Yes, and your Vogue sewing book, which I bought you.
You did. That's my Bible.
Yes.
And then these here, in fact, let me get some of these out because I don't think anyone is going to believe how gorgeous they are. Let's start with this one because this is Vogue Pattern Book 1. And it is from 1956. And Nikki bought me a whole collection for my birthday a couple of years ago. There were like 6 or 7 different magazines. And you can just turn to any page and just find the most... I mean, that was maternity wear. Have you ever seen such glamorous...
I want to wear a hat and red gloves.
I know.
And have a baby.
They're just fabulous.
Yeah.
But the way they write about the fabrics and the way they describe... the outfits, it's just brilliant. It's just not the way we don't get excited about fashion in the same way that they did.
They don't have patterns in them. They're just
they don't have patterns. They were promoting the patterns that they had at the time. So you can see down here, you've got the pattern numbers. So they would have been the pattern numbers that you would have bought to recreate the looks.
Right, fabulous.
So it's like a more glamorous equivalent of. The pattern books that you flick through when you're choosing your big 4 patterns.
Right.
But then how interesting is that? Just flick to that page. What is the colour of the year?
I know. There you go.
So there you go. Seemed to be the case in 1956 as well. So these are brilliant. I'm torn all the time about whether I just cherish them exactly as they are or whether I cut out some of the most beautiful pages and frame them.
Yes.
Because they are so lovely. And I would gladly get rid of all of those to replace it with a whole wall of pages from Vogue pattern books. That would be a lovely thing to do. Let me pop that back. And then this is where we sew.
Yes, let me get the table in. Show us your lazy Susan.
Oh, Nikki found this week in TK Maxx. That's why she's so proud of it.
Look, it spins!
So we think it's supposed to be for sauces and stuff, condiments on the table.
Yes.
But it's perfect for class because we've got little scissors, seam gauges, markers, point turners, seam rippers.
Everything
and you can just turn it to get whatever you need.
That just makes me so happy, I can't tell you.
So this is all tidy, ready for class tonight. We had a class this morning and we've got another class tonight. We're finishing our Tilly and the Button 6-part dressmaking course today. So we had a Francois, a Bettine and a Zadie finished this morning, and we've got lots more of those and an Etta to finish tonight. So 7 more dresses to finish tonight, but the 3 ladies who finished theirs today looked fab, so that's brilliant. And then finally, here in the window, we have our little haberdashery. So we stock a few bits and bobs for our sewers so that they can pick up what they need when they're at class rather than having to go out and buy it from somewhere else. But really, this is what we convince ourselves, but the truth is it's just so that we always have access to more pins, more scissors, more buttons. Whatever we need, we can just replenish our stocks.
No, we are pretty good. We are, you know.
We are. We used to stock a lot more stuff in the haberdashery, but we've scaled it back so that we've got more room for sewing. And then if anybody needs anything that we don't stock here, we can order it in for them. But it's looking a little bit sparse at the moment. I think it needs restocking.
We need to restock.
I've got some more stock in
That's because you're having all the classes at the moment.
Yes,
so that's
exactly.
why.
Okay everyone, I hope you enjoyed my little sewing room tour. It is my happy place. It is a place where I while away many a very happy hour, and Nikki comes along and whiles away a few happy hours with me too. And we get to teach lots of lovely people how to sew here, which is one of the things that makes us happiest in the world. So we'll be back soon with some new videos soon. Take care guys, bye.